Okay, another video on the Yahweh continuity dilemma, right? Yahweh is clearly the God of the New Testament, and the Quran is said to be revelation confirming the revelations prior to it, right? So let's speak about Yahweh. Yahweh is the name that God personally discloses to Moses. It's a personal disclosure of God, his name, Yahweh, which means I am that I am. And so I'll get this out the way first. The Quran might say that, okay, it doesn't, or Muslims might say that the Quran doesn't need to affirm the name Yahweh because self-existence, like I am that I am, is already embedded in embedded in Allah. But that crumbles because God in the Old Testament is already known to be self-existent and a pure being. God doesn't need to say that his name is Yahweh for his believers to understand his nature, to understand that he's a supreme being and that he's self-existent. But he chooses, he intentionally discloses this name. Um, I think there's a different wording for it, but he intentionally personally discloses the name of I am that I am, Yahweh. It's not merely because it's in Hebrew, because Allah means God, right? Adonai, Elohim, that means God in Hebrew. You can say it's a phonetic or language thing if Yahweh meant God. But Yahweh means I am that I am. It's not a generic divine name. It's not a generic divine title. So that argument crumbles too. But Allah is the Arabic version of Yahweh. No, it's not. Yahweh doesn't mean God. Yahweh means I am that I am. Elohim and Adonai in Hebrew mean God. And then Greek, Theos, Kyrios, those all mean God. But Yahweh is a distinct category, different from just God. It's a personal revelation. It's a personal revelatory disclosure of his name. He gives, and he says that Yahweh is his name forever. And it'll endure. It's an enduring title, it's an enduring name, and it's for all the nations. It's not a covenant strictly with the Israelites and the Jews. Because God says that Yahweh is for all the nations. I think this is described in Exodus and in Isaiah. Yahweh is for all the nations, and Yahweh is his name forever. So if it is his name forever, and the Quran comes after the Old Testament, why do we go from a revelatory, personal disclosure, Yahweh is my name? And I know they didn't always refer to him as Yahweh, because I think out of reverence, they didn't want to refer to him as Yahweh all the time, so they put Lord, which is 100%, that's fine. That's not problematic, because the revelation in the name still stands. It's still his name. But when you go to the Quran, it's stripped. This revelation is almost as if it never happened. There was never a revelation of his name. He never revealed his name to Moses. The Quran takes the same, so some context, Moses is going to Pharaoh and he's going to perform these miracles, and he's going to ask for I think he asked for the Israelites first. And Moses, he asked for the Israelites out of enslavement to take them into the wilderness and to worship, to worship God. And then Moses is like, who will I say, on whose behalf am I doing this for? Essentially, paraphrasing. And then that's when God reveals his name. He says, I am that I am sent you. Yahweh sent you. That's not him saying God sent you. That's not him saying Allah sent you. He said, I am that I am sent you. A revelation of his name, a disclosure. He's disclosing, it's his name, that title has theological implications. It's a theological revelation. It's not just, oh my God, there's so much to this. There's so much to the Yahweh continuity dilemma. Felt like I did like an ad. Never mind. So the Quran comes around and just sideswipes the name Yahweh that God says will be his name forever, right? And I'm gonna touch upon textual corruption and textual criticism in a little bit. I'm gonna get there because Muslims will say that the text is corrupt. We're gonna get there. Don't worry. But before we get there, so I'm not saying that Yahweh is meant to be the only way that God is referred to in the Quran, but you don't even do it once. You don't even explain it. You actually completely strip it from the story with Moses, from the historical recollection of Moses. You strip it entirely. God never revealed himself. God never reveals his name personally. One, because I think that's those two don't coincide. Like Islam is your slave, and Allah is completely transcendent above everything else. He could never personally reveal himself to a mere mortal. It's like God dapped up Moses and was like, I am that I am sent you. Yo, go tell him I am that I am sent you. That's a personal name. He could have just went by Lord Almighty Adonai, Elohim, but he was like, yo, I am that I am sent you. Yahweh sent you. Co-sign that. Yahweh's co-signing that. But the Quran completely does away with this revelation, right? And then the Muslims will say that the texts are corrupt, right? And you know what I'll do? I'll grant that, right? Because you know what they can't run away from? The prophets that they attest to that have Yahweh built into their name, embedded into their name. Elijah, Zechariah, Isaiah, John, even Jesus. But they changed Jesus' name to Isa. Yahweh is embedded in the names of not all of the prophets, but there's prophets where his name is embedded into them. Like Zechariah means Yahweh remembers. Elijah means my God is Yahweh. John means Yahweh is gracious. Isaiah means Yahweh is my salvation. You can argue that the text is corrupt. I'll grant you that. What about the names of these prophets? That their names are living testaments to the name of Yahweh, to the revelatory personal disclosure of I am that I am. And he didn't need to reveal himself this way in order for people to know that he's self-existent and that he's an all-powerful being, but he did it anyway. So that argument that you might be like, oh, but Allah is a personal name, and we know we have the essence of Yahweh in Allah, the name Allah. Allah means God. Words have meaning. That's why Yahweh is the God revealing himself as Yahweh from an Islamic perspective is irreconcilable. You cannot reconcile that unless you try to do some. The most I can grant you is you can do high level explaining yourself out of it. You cannot engage truly with the substance because you're supposed to be a final revelation, final, complete, perfect revelation. And you don't reference the name, the revelation of Yahweh. Not even once. You don't even allude to it. You completely disregard it. But you include the story. You include the historical recollection of Moses and Pharaoh, the miracles and trying to get the Israelites out of enslavement into the forest, into the wilderness. That is included, but strategically, Yahweh is stripped. A revelatory name that has theological implications. It doesn't just mean God. Yahweh means I am that I am. Allah just means God. You stripped the name that God said that will be his name forever, that will endure and will be for all the nations. You stripped it, but you attest to the prophets, you confirm the prophets that have his name, Yahweh, embedded in their name. Elijah, Zechariah, Isaiah, John. Irreconcilable. The best they can say, one, the text is corrupt. Prophets have Yahweh in their name. Bye. Two, that it's a phonetic game. It's but throughout the languages, God means different things. No, Yahweh doesn't mean God. It means I am that I am. Allah means God. Yahweh has semantic, uh, 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 Yahweh means something other than God. It's theological, it has meaning, it's revelatory, it's personal, and it was intentional. It was by design that he revealed himself this way. This is my name forever. I am that I am. Forever. And what does the Quran do? It doesn't even reference it once. The Quran is completely silent on the God of the New Testament, of the Old Testament, and the Old Testament. But we'll stick to the Old Testament before people start, oh, but prove to me Yahweh's in the New Testament. I grant you that. Go ahead. Run around till the cows come home. Did Allah forget his name? Did God forget his name? His forever enduring, everlasting, revelatory, personally disclosed name? I argue he didn't. He did not, because he's an all-knowing being. So that would mean that Allah is not God. That would mean that the Quran is not divinely inspired text. You're speaking to Muhammad and to Muslims who believe in Muhammad. Muhammad is claiming to be a prophet that confirms scripture previous to him. Where is it? Where's the confirmation? How do you know it was Angel Gabriel in the cave with you? There's no other angelic encounters that look like that, not even close. Elijah, John, Zechariah, Isaiah, they have Yahweh embedded in their name. Yahweh is my salvation. Yahweh is gracious. My God is Yahweh. Yahweh remembers. So you can't say that Yahweh is cap, because the text is corrupted. What about the names of the prophets? Look, you can't run. You can't run. All bases are covered. The continuity breaks. You don't even confirm the name of the God. You don't even confirm the name of God. You just go to a generic title. You go from a personal, revelatory disclosure, a relationship. He revealed who he is. He revealed his name. He gave you his name. You know, like in Japanese culture, where people have there's certain endings to the names when you're speaking to somebody you're not too familiar with, and then it changes when you guys are familiar. From formal to familiar, from Adonai, Elohim to Yahweh. And then you go back to Allah. You go back to Adonai as the only reference to God, as the only way that God has revealed himself to believers. Cap. For the people in the back that didn't hear me, it's cap. Islam is cap. There's continuity breaks everywhere, up the freaking wazoo. I don't even know if I said that phrase correctly. But yeah, so Yahweh continuity, geek. No continuity whatsoever. There's no ability for electricity to travel through this wire because it's broken. Is there anything else? No, Yahweh has a meaning. Your words have meaning. Yahweh doesn't mean God. Yahweh means I am that I am. Allah means God. Allah means Lord, which is fine. I'm not saying there's a problem with that. But I'm saying there's a problem when God says that Yahweh is my name forever, and you don't reference that name even once. And the first time and you strip the revealing, you strip the revelatory history from the story of Moses. From the recalling of Moses. I keep saying story. It's not fairy tale. It's a recalling. It's a historical recalling. But yeah, this is the Yahweh continuity dilemma. Again, the first one was, did Allah forget his name? But there was more details that needed to be added for the continuity dilemma to be fully packaged. So now if you watch both of them, you know what the true dilemma is. So yeah, Jesus Christ is King. Salute.